The following video only exists thanks to a request from Keith Clark on Patreon. Disclaimer, this series revolves around criticising things, and the fact that I'm doing that doesn't necessarily mean I dislike the thing. Thank you! Click below to watch the original Sins video, or to buy Contact.
Hard to believe any alien life will contact us after hearing this jumbled mass of frequencies. Oh, you're the race that came up with "We built this city? Here's the keys to interstellar travel."
First of all, the aliens sending the message from Vega wouldn't have received this. Vega is 25.5 light years away, meaning it takes 51 years for a transmission to get there and to get back. Meaning that by the time the transmission was sent from Vega, they couldn't have received anything from Earth from later than 1946. Meaning they 100% haven't heard "We built this city." Second, they wouldn't have received this jumbled mass of frequencies. This is just a cinematic representation of how much it is we're beaming out. It's not literally what you would receive if you tuned into Earth from another planet.
She has a pretty precise thread of contacts with her radio all around the Midwest, but somehow her farthest one yet goes all the way down to Florida? Baby steps, radio. Maybe Kentucky first before Florida.
No one will be seated during the portion of the Sins video where Jeremy sins a radio for being overambitious. You know, a radio. The inanimate object.
Guys, I'm getting a weird feeling that one of Sean Bean's characters has died here before.
Please, you could say that same sentence literally anywhere in the world and still have like a 50% chance of it being accurate.
Young Ellie watches the space with her dad, while next door house arrest Shia LaBeouf is looking at them through binoculars and assessing their murderousness.
What? It's probably a reference to something I don't get, isn't it? Although what I'm more concerned about is that you censor the word shit by covering the H instead of the I. Like, what? Who does that? Am I maybe being too nitpicky here? You know what, I'll let you have this one. The generous god that I am.
Died when I was 9 years old. I never got to know my mother.
Then who took care of you after that? I don't think we hear of an uncle or cousin or anybody who then raised young Ellie during her formative years so that she could keep on this radio for alien life track she set for herself at such a young age.
This isn't one of those things that sticks out like a sore thumb if you realize it while watching the movie. This isn't like, how was Batman able to return to Gotham in The Dark Knight Rises? This is one of those things where if you start thinking about it while watching the movie, you'll probably just come to the conclusion that, oh, she was probably raised by a relative or something. This isn't something the movie needs to spell out for you because it's not crucial to the movie's plot, and it's not that unreasonable a thing to ask the audience to fill in the blanks on themselves.
I want to make fun of her 9-year-old running ability here because it's hilarious, but then she opens the medicine cabinet, revealing this is a glorious shot where I can't see the camera, even though I should be able to, and ultimately I'm just going to take a sin off here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Camera pan from multiple prescription bottles to the father-daughter photo is manipulative as hell, dog. Yo, Zemeckis, you are better than this.
That's not a camera pan, but alright.
She's currently worried about how a 9-year-old will be able to keep paying the bills and maintain this house without working 5 illegal jobs.
And right now she's outside her house, but later we see her near this big telescope thing, so how does she get from one place to the other? Does she take a plane or a bus or what? The movie never explains this.
Sometimes we just have to accept it as God's will.
Wow, this priest knew exactly what a 9-year-old needed to hear to completely get over her dad's sudden death. That's amazing.
No. She basically implies that she thinks the priest is full of shit and then goes and cries while trying to contact her dad using her radio, despite the fact that he's dead. I don't think you know what it looks like when someone gets over something.
Dad, are you there?
You just buried him, girl. Give his spirit time to adapt to the ether and Jesus.
Wait, what? You even show the scene of her crying? Is this what someone completely over something looks like? What? This is genuinely baffling to me. What do you think is happening here?
So what? It's my life!
Whoa, I did not know this movie was going to turn into Rebel Without a Cause.
Whoa, I didn't know that the CinemaSins video was going to turn into a Couch Tomatoes video.
Ellie's wondering how in the world a 9-year-old was able to pay the bills and maintain a house without working 5 illegal jobs.
She probably just started a YouTube channel. I hear it's really easy to do well at because nobody ever fact checks you.
Your having sent this announcement all over the world may well constitute a breach of national security.
Typical America. Aliens from outer space say hello and we think we own that.
Hang on, I thought things being accurate to real life is something you liked.
Can you clean it up any more than that?
I'm working on it.
Ah, zoom and enhance cliche.
No, this is not that cliche. This is them cleaning up the signal and also zooming out. Believe me, I'm not a fan of the zoom enhance cliche either. But you're getting so liberal with your sinning of it that you're probably just going to end up sinning a movie for like literally just zooming in on something or something. Wait, you already did that for Minions? That's hilarious, I love it. Like, wait, this is Minions as well. Could he really not find enough sins for Minions that he really had to just, like, stretch it that hard?
20 million people died defeating that son of a bitch, and he's our first ambassador to outer space.
She says this like any human had control over what the aliens watched.
No, she says this like she's, somewhat unhappy that aliens' first impression of humanity was literally Hitler. I feel like she's, allowed to be unhappy about that.
Also, yeah, he's kind of the defining human of the century, despite being 100% evil.
So what, that means he makes a great first impression?
Hey, have you considered that aliens might hate us because of our history?
Hey, here's an idea. Maybe that's why she sounds somewhat upset.
In 1936, a very faint television signal transmitted the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games.
And what these aliens did was, they saw this and immediately said, yes, these people need to know how to create a machine that will tackle the complexity of the Einstein-Rosen bridge. Send it back to them now!
Boy, it sounds kind of silly when you put it like that, doesn't it? I personally would phrase it more like this. When the aliens discovered a new form of intelligent life, they made contact with them, giving them the means to send one single ambassador to begin interstellar relations.
Haddon stops this movie dead cold by showing a long biographical video of Ellie, which fills in some tiny gaps as to how smart she is, but does not explain how she kept living in that house at 9 years old without working 5 illegal jobs.
Wow, it seems like it takes less provocation for you to bring up this silly point than it takes for the movie to be like, hey, religion.
In the late 90s, this was some impressive-ass CGI. Today, however, it's sin-worthy, so there.
Do you know what CGI is?
Your dad, did you love him?
Yes, very much.
Prove it.
Ellie says she'd need proof to believe in God. Then he asks her to prove she loved her dead father, as though the two were in any way related. Proof of God and proof of loving one's dad, assuming either is possible, are two completely different concepts, dude.
Yes, but to him they're the same because he understands the main reason he believes in God is his subjective experiences. Experiences that he can't prove. He's comparing it to Ellie's love for her father because that's a subjective experience she once had that she can't prove.
Cost of the project is spiraling to more than $1/3 of $1 trillion.
Who says numbers like this? $1/3 of $1 trillion? Have we verified this reporter isn't an alien?
You know, I was going to send you for censoring the word shit weirdly, but then I thought it might have been too nitpicky. But it seems like compared to some of the things you sin, that's a critical flaw with your video that must be addressed. This is me going completely off script here, which I do sometimes, but I just thought you people would want to know this. So I was scrolling through the audio of that last sin, and the parts that I skipped made the audio I just recorded sound like this. I'll play it. I was gonna shit weirdly. I just thought some of you might appreciate that little detour there.
And were permitted only one question to ask of them. What would it be?
How did you do it?
I would ask them something super vague, like, how did you do it? And that would be the one question, and that's how I started the War of the Worlds.
Well, honey, if you let her fucking finish.
95% of the world's population believes in a supreme being in one form or another.
I'd like to see the data on that, or do you just believe that made-up stat?
Oof, good burn.
Relax, no one was killed during this blast except those who'd been previously marked by the screenwriter.
Yeah, the only people who died were the ones for which it made logical sense for them to be within the blast radius. That damn screenwriter using logical cause and effect to further the events of their story.
For a super long movie, all this taking way too super long.
Well, that's cool, but later you say this.
I'm removing another sin because even though this has taken 8 minutes, I'm totally riveted.
Almost as if this scene's long length is justified, and contributes really well to a feeling of suspense. You see, sometimes I don't even have to be the one who disagrees with Jeremy. Sometimes he'll do it himself. Speaking of that second sin, though.
I'm totally riveted. The music by Alan Silvestri, the suspense Zemeckis creates, it's awesome.
I know, right? I haven't felt this way since the Europa Report. That's another really good, underrated sci-fi movie, by the way. If you like this kind of thing, go watch the Europa Report.
And thus here's the part that loses everybody. We spent 2 hours trying to get Ellie into space. We want to see something awesome, and she runs into her father, or rather an alien playing Halloween and dressed up as David Morse. I think everyone would have been happy with a bunch of aliens in a room full of confetti and a big "Congratulations Ellie" sign strung up on a wall, but we got her dad. Dad's the alien.
The genuinely interesting part of this is what he says, not what he looks like. One of the things that this movie gets exactly right, at least in my opinion, is what to show and what not to show. The quick glimpses of alien technology we get in Vega, the brief flash of the alien city below the pod, and now we don't even find out what the aliens look like. And I think that's great, because the endless possibilities in your head are going to be better than any one thing that they could put on screen. The best sci-fi mysteries, again, in my opinion, are the ones that answer all the questions you had going in, but by the end you're left even more curious than you were when you started. Because that's what science is really like. You answer one question and it raises a million more.
We didn't build it. We don't know who did.
The main purpose of bringing you here is to raise even more questions, so f*** you.
Yes, because showing that these aliens who are advanced beyond our wildest dreams still have questions about the universe doesn't fit thematically with this movie at all, does it? So, sin total is 23, and this Sins video was decent. It had a lot of stuff in it that definitely felt like filler. And a lot of the jokes didn't make me laugh personally, but I've seen much worse. Is that good? Is that good instead of punishments? Do you guys like me saying stuff like that? Is that what you want? You know, a lot of you last time had good ideas in the comments, so I'll go through and try a few different ones before I settle on one I like. But before I let you go, it's time for a quickie review. See if you can guess the Sins video I'll be sending next week based on it. No, that's teasers. This is a review I'm doing. Quickie review. Let's go. The main word I would use to describe Contact is interesting. I loved pretty much all the sci-fi elements to it. The first hour or so genuinely felt like it could have been a genuine historical film from the future made about the first person to make contact with aliens. And that's the kind of thing I really enjoy in my sci-fi. Well, no, I can enjoy a really big space battle in that too, but you know, this is one thing I really enjoy, and I honestly don't think it's done enough. Sci-fi that essentially is our very best guess of how events that might happen in the future might go down. One thing I enjoyed less about this movie was how every 3 seconds it took some time out to pummel me in the face with religion. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against religion in movies. I'll happily watch any topic being explored if it's being explored well. But you know, there's such a thing as subtlety.
Are you really gonna sit there and tell us we should just take this all on faith?
Do you get it? It's like what the God people were saying before, but now she's the one in the situation where she's having to convince people of things without evidence. You fucking get it? Here, if you don't get it, let me just quickly slap you in the face with a physical manifestation of irony. Oh, just so you know, I had to do a few takes of that, and I just received this voice message from my flatmate.
Yeah, if you don't get it, hello.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. Before I go, I'd just like to say a big thanks to all my patrons. Your support really does mean a lot to the channel. It's people like you that are the reason I don't have to go and get a real fucking job. So thank you, Brandon, North Act, Johnny DL, Nick Grabar, Megan Stagles? This is why I normally mispronounce people's names on purpose, so that no one can actually tell I actually can't read for shit. Zachary Christensen, Wisdavizian Productions, Kyle Caldwell, Will Beeson, Gilgamesh, Elias Bauer, Zach Van Stanley, Jacob Hanshu, Josiah Herring, Timothy Green, and of course, Keith Clark, who requested this very video. Thank you all so much. Other than that, I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, there are some links on screen now to some more of my content. This Sunday, I'm thinking about trying something very different for this channel, but I think it might be important. So stick around for that. If you do stick around for that, I'll see you then. If not, hopefully I'll see you next Wednesday for another video like this one. Goodbye.